Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And thanks everyone for coming to the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class on this third canto, 6th chapter, text 12. Yes, no problem. Oh yeah. Just how do we do it? One word again? Or I don't. Okay. Yeah. First, yeah. Tasyam Agni Asyam Nirpinam Lokapala Avishat Padam Vacham Swaamshena Vaktavyam Yayam Aso Pratipadite Tasyagnirasya Nirpinam Tasyagnirasyam Nirpinam Lokapalo Vishatpadam Lokapalo Vishatpadam Vachasvamshena Vaktavya Vachasvamshena Vaktavyam Yayaso Pratipadite Yayaso Pratipadite Tasyagnirasyam Nirpinam Lokapalo Vishatpadam Vachasvamshena Vaktavyam Yayaso Pratipadite. Tasyagnirasyam Nirpinam Lokapalo Vishatpadam Samshena Vaktavyam Yayaso Pratipadate Tasyagnirasyam Nirpinam Lokapalo Vishatpadam Tasyaso Pratipadate Tasyagnirasyam Nirpinam Lokapalo Vishatpadam Vachasvamshena Vaktavyam Yaso Pratipadate Tasyagnirasyam Nirpinam Lokapalo Vishatpadam Vachasvamshena Vaktavyam Yaso Pratipadate Tasya his Agni fire Asyam mouth Nirpinam thus separated Lokapala directors on material affairs Abhishat entered Padam respective positions Vacha by words Svaamshena by one's own part Vaktavyam speeches Yayam by which Aso they Pratipadite express. Translation. Agni or heat separated from his mouth, and all the directors of material affairs entered into it in their respective positions. By that energy, the living entity expresses himself in words. Purport. The mouth of the gigantic universal form of the Lord is a source of the speaking power. The director of the fire element is a controlling deity or the Adhidaiva. The speeches derived are Adhyatma or bodily functions, and the subject matter of the speeches is material productions, or the Atiputta principle. Tasyagnir asyam nirpinam lokapalo vishat padam machasvam shena bhaktavyam yaso pratipadyate. Agni or heat separated from his mouth, and all the directors of material affairs entered into it in their respective positions. By that energy, the living entity expresses himself in words. The mouth we don't need to repeat that. Yes, I just read the verse before because it's kind of introduction to this subchapter. Maitreya said, "You may now hear from me how the Supreme Lord separated himself into the diverse forms of the demigods after the manifestation of the gigantic universal form." Yes, this is a very esoteric part. This is, this chapter deals with the material world. I mean, the creation of it, and so on and so forth. This is always very esoterically dealt in our literature. Because it's hard to understand these parts, and esoteric sometimes means mysterious, isn't it? Something which we don't really understand. And it's like energies, things, subtle things we don't really follow, we don't really see, we don't really feel, but yes, we can still. So it needs just another dimension of ours and another form of vision and understanding, another intelligence, yes, not just material intelligence. So, the creation of the material world is very, very complex. It's just unbelievably complex. And it's always in two parts. It's just like duality thing. It's like matter and spirit. It's not just spiritual. Just in spiritual world, everything is spiritual. And everything is just different. Everything just magical, totally unbelievable. We don't know anything about the spiritual world. But in material world, everything is divided in two parts. Matter, which is the ingredient part of it. I mean, it's like building materials. We need some material things. And everything but in moving part, moving energy, creating power and everything like that, is just spiritual part. So it's spirit and matter combined together creates this world. This is what we see. Including huge universal form, starting with it at least, and down to the small atoms, actually. So the whole point is that these two energies, when they combine together, so do we have this what we call living matter? I would call it living matter. I read it somewhere. It's quite nice because dead matter is always kind of dead. It has no power of doing anything by itself. But when it's activated by the spirit, by the soul, so then it is a moving, it is a living matter. But actually, just like a car is always has no power by itself to do anything unless it is manipulated and driven by somebody, some living entity. Physically sitting there, now it's like you have cars which, just drive without driver. Even taxis. In some places in the States, I think already. Also in Norway, I think, probably it's coming here very soon. You can just, call the taxi and nobody's sitting there. The car comes to you, and you can, with a code, open the door, sit there, and then right where you want to go, and lay back and just relax, and the car drives you. This is a little bit scary, but metro is in underground, but this is kind of easy because it follows the line. I mean, it cannot really go there. but I remember first time I sat in the metro without the driver. I said, okay, Anyways, this is the wonderful thing, and this is a very, very important thing for the devotees, for us to understand the matter and what is beyond it. It's we hear about it every single day, but we need to really realize this, that I am not this body. Basically, this is a very, very important thing. And I spoke with Lieutenant Prabhu recently, and I'm quite interested in helping or developing some knowledge about this dichotomy, this duality between matter and spirit in terms of medical science or just, material science, basically, and maybe find some liaison, some kind of connection between material science and spiritual science, citing some quite scientific proofs that people who experience, who are close to death, but they don't die, they come back and they tell us things which just really unbelievable. People hear things which was said in the operation room while they were operated and they were, gone, and everybody thought they were dead maybe, or things like that. Just some things, some things are quite substantial, and we can use it. Some things probably are just imagination of some people. So scientific thing is that be as honest as possible, be as precise as possible, don't cheat and things like that. That's what they say. Most of these people are like that. They don't want to cheat. They don't just cheat themselves sometimes because they don't want to accept anything beyond the scientific truth, which is not the only thing. Many things we cannot scientifically prove. That's the point. So at one point they should give up their attachment to scientific proofs and just see things with a larger vision. Anyway, so this thing, matter and spirit, this is very, very important. It makes us very strong devotees. Just imagine if you know that you are not this body, if you just read about it, just talk about it, but you really know. So you have no fears, and you have no anxieties, and you have nothing to desire as well, nothing to lament for. This is the platform where you really become a really good fixed devotee. Then you have the faith in Krishna. Because we are not just willing to understand we are not this body, we want to understand who we really are and our relationship with Krishna. That's the whole point. This is what makes us different from everybody else, because we, all the Jnani philosophers, they understand we are not this body. That's what they understand, most of them at least, most of them. You see, Vedic knowledge is, Vedic philosophy, it consists of 6 schools: Karma, Mimamsa, Sankhya, Vaisheshika, then Patanjali and something else, and Vedanta. Nyaya, which is logic. Yoga, Patanjali, and Vedanta at the end. Srila Prabhupada says actually that most of these Western philosophers, they are from Sankhya school. Speculations all the time, like all these things and whatever. But this is not complete. This is definitely not complete, not at all. But this is the highest you can achieve if you don't use the Vedic authority. When you use the Vedic authority, you don't have to speculate. You don't have to find out things. You have to just follow and realize. But if you don't do that, you do it on your own, by your own efforts, you can only come so far as, understanding maybe, at least theoretically, the difference between matter and spirit. So this is part of our philosophy, of course. So Vedanta is a full. It consists of all the good things from other things, but it's it's totally complete. Anyway, here let's talk about more concrete, particular things which is dealt with in this verse. See here. In this purpose, Srila Prabhupada mentions 3 things: Ati Daiva, Ati Atma, and Ati Puta. So we talk about the mouth and heat and speech, isn't it? So every function in this world, like mouth, seeing, feeling, touching, tasting, and everything, consists of these three things. We need, first of all, we need a director of this element. Particular element is connected with particular function and particular sense organ, isn't it? So here, fire element is the director of the fire element, which is Agni, is Adhidaiva. Daiva comes from Deva. Deva means the divine. So in other words, somehow or other, Agni directs our speech. This is the demigod part of it. And then we have the function itself, which is speech, which is Adhyatma, or bodily function. Adhyatma means, in this sense, self, or rather the body. Yes, and then we have subject matter, what we talk about. This is Adhiputa. So if we continue now reading, so we can talk about different things. Next verse, number 13. It's okay. Nirpinam talu varuno loka palo vishatharet jivayam shena charasam yayaso pratipadyate. The same thing, yayasu pratipadyate, which was the last line in this verse. When the pellet of the gigantic form was separately manifested, Varuna, the director of air in the planetary systems, entered therein, and thus the living entity has a facility to taste everything with his tongue. Talu means pellet. Pellet, this upper part. And talu's palatal sounds, this is Indian, this Sanskrit, these are palatal sounds because the tongue should be up to the palate. It's very important. I worked a lot with cancer in the head and neck area. And it's very important thing. When we irradiate it, it's a lot of trouble. So see, director of the planters. Okay, so we go on. Text 14. Yes, I was just reading that. I said, okay, now I don't. It's this is really it's how it should be, because I was looking in the translation itself. The verse is it should be actually Varuna. Varuna has nothing to do with air. It's very much water. Varuna is like Poseidon, Poseidon, Neptune, the god of the ocean in Greek and Latin, Rome. This is actually. I wanted to say, but then I just okay. you got it. Nirpine ashvino nase Vishnur avishatam padam griha nenam shena gantasya pratipatir yato bhavet. When the Lord's two nostrils separately manifested themselves, the dual Ashwini Kumaras entered them in their proper positions. And because of this, the living entities can smell the aromas of everything. Yes. Nirpine akshinit vashta lokapalo vishat vipo chakshush shamshena rupanam pratipatir yato bhavet. Thereafter, the two eyes of the gigantic form of the Lord were separately manifested. The sun, director of light, entered them with the partial representation of eyesight, and thus the living entities can have vision of forms. I don't go very much into details because we can easily get lost. Nirpinanyasya charmani lokapalo nilo vashat. When there was a manifestation of skin separated from the gigantic form, Anila, the deity directing the wind, entered with partial touch, and thus the living entities can realize tactile knowledge. Karnavasya viri pino dishnyam swam vivishurtisha shodrenam shena shaptasya sitimyena prapadyate. When the ears of the gigantic form became manifested, all the controlling deities of the directions entered into them with the hearing principles by which all the living entities hear and take advantage of sound. Purport. The ear is the most important instrument in the body of the living entity. Sound is the most important medium for carrying the message of distant and unknown things. The perfection of all sound or knowledge enters through the ears and makes one's life perfect. The entire Vedic system of knowledge is received by oral reception only, and thus sound is the most important source of knowledge. How far do we have? It's half, isn't it? It's half? Yeah, half or something. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, yes, yes. This sound thing. I mean, the ears. These are just so important. So whole idea is to hear, hear, and you start. Everything starts in Vedic knowledge. Starts with hearing, oral reception, which can be understood by reading as well. I mean, it's okay. You don't need to sit physically. It's very nice to sit physically next to a realized person when he or she talks about spiritual matters. Then it has an extra effect, of course. But I mean, the reception. I mean, oral reception. I mean, submissive reception. That's the whole point. You have to let the knowledge come into you, go into your system, basically. So this is done by the ears, of course. Text 18. Tasya tvachamasya vinirpinam vivishurtishnam oshadhi amshena romapir kandum yairaso pratipadyate. When there was a separate manifestation of skin, the controlling deities of sensations and their different parts entered into it, and thus the living entities feel itching and happiness due to touch. For sense perception, there are two principal items, touch and itching. The both of them are controlled by the skin and hairs of the body. According to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, the controlling deity of touch is the air passing within the body, and the controlling deity of hairs on the body is Oshatya. For the skin, the object of perception is touch, and for the hairs on the body, the object of perception is itching. Mirtham sasya vinirpinam svatishnam ka upavishat vreta samshena yena sao anandam pratipadyate. When the genitals of the gigantic form separately became manifest, then Prajapati, the original living creature, entered into them with his partial semen, and thus the living entities can enjoy sex pleasure. Gudam pumso virpinam vitro lokesha avishat payunam shena yena so visargam pratipadyate. The evacuating channel separately became manifest, and the director named Mitra entered into it with partial organs of evacuation. Thus the living entities are able to pass stool and urine. Because I'm a medical doctor, I can think about so many things now. I mean, just some verses before there was talking about different types of air in this body, which is not understood, should be understood just like air, like this. It's something much more mystical. It can be impulses, it can be energies. It's something material science doesn't really know. But we know the effects. For example, there is an air which contracts things, isn't it? We close the eyes, things do like this, and I don't know, all this contraction things. There is air which makes, moves things away from us, like abduction it's called, abductor muscle, this kind of muscle. It's called adduction, coming closer, and extension, contraction, things like that. Well, just like we in our material science know these things, Vedic knowledge, but Vedic knowledge sees things differently. So. In this case, for example, something controls, passing stool and urine, and okay, we know It's, there are some nerves from lumbal, from the spine here and from sacrum, which goes to the bladder, to rectum, and controls things. And ultimately, is controlled from here. But this is not just these centers. Something else controls it. Something is above them. It's us who's willing something. We actually sit in the car, which is, okay, well, you know what? Please drive me there. Please do this. And then if the car is okay, then you can do it. The car does it. Then you think, I am doing this. No, not really. That's why Bhagavad-gītā, it says, the verse, do you remember this? Of course you know. But, the bewildered living entity sits as if in the car in this body, as if a car made by material energy, and thinks I'm this body. So, yantra, it's called. So it's very, very interesting. And then there is a deity. There's some personality who is controlling it above, all the elements of this in every living entities and in the universe. Who can do that? These are devas. These are real devas. They have enormous power, but they are empowered by Krishna. You should not think they are the supremes. They are just very powerful ones, working under the direction of Krishna. So all these wonderful things is going on in our body. All these beautiful things, all these complex things. As soon as the soul leaves the body, just useless, totally useless. I have seen so many people leaving their bodies because I'm working with patients. So there is no attraction at all to this body anymore. As soon as the soul is out, so just something everyone wants to avoid. When the soul is there, everyone wants to, somebody wants to embrace you, somebody wants to talk to you, everything. People love you and things like that. As soon as you leave the body, this is the most untouchable work in this world, dealing with the dead bodies, isn't it? Everybody's afraid as well. Yeah, it's actually scary. Well, the best I can do for my patients who are dying, I can tell them. I cannot talk to them about Krishna. I cannot preach to them because, I may not last very long if I do that. They will kick me out. It's not allowed to talk about spirituality and at work. So I tell them, well, you know what? Because I have to sometimes send them home and tell them, you have to go home and die. Sorry, we cannot do anything for you. And people are so sorry. Of course, they are sorry. They are just, it's really, really painful to see them. But then sometimes they console themselves. Well, I had a good life. I had long and good life. Yes, fine, but doesn't really help now. So, but then I tell them, this body dies. Yes, but you will never die. You will live forever. You will be born somewhere else. This best I can do. Sometimes they understand. Sometimes they of course, they don't have no clue what I'm talking about. But I can try to tell them just very gently. Unfortunately, I cannot help them more than that. So if you take text 21, Hastavasya niribhina indra swapatira vishat vartyayam shena purusho yaya vritim prapadyate. There is maybe prasadam soon, I don't know. Is there? Oh, sorry, I don't know. Not yet. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. Vartyayam shena purusho yaya vritim prapadyate. Thereafter, when the hands of the gigantic form separately became manifested, Indra, the ruler of the heavenly planets, entered into them, and thus the living entity is able to transact business for his livelihood. Padyavasyo vinirpino lokesho vishnura vishat Gatyasvamshena purusho yaya prapyam prapadyate. Thereafter the legs of the gigantic form separately became manifest, and the demigod named Vishnu, not the personality of Godhead, entered with partial movement. You know, I had a patient once from Bhutan, here in Denmark. His son was named Vishnu too. So he was not Vishnu, but he was just like this demigod. He's not the Vishnu, the Supreme, but Vishnu Das. So this is another Vishnu, not the personality God. This helps the living entity move to his destination. These legs, these are the legs. I mean, these things need to be studied if you want to sit down and write down and, like really go through everything. So just do this overview of it, just read it get through. Buddhim chasya vinirpinam vagisho tishnyam avishat potenam shena bodhavyam pratipatir yato bhavit. When the intelligence of the gigantic form separately became manifest, Brahma, the Lord of the Vedas, entered into it with a partial power understanding. Intelligence is Brahma. Thus, the object of understanding is experienced by the living entities. Hridayam chasya nirpinam chandrama tishnyam avishat mana samshena yena so vikriyam pratipadyate. After that, the heart of the gigantic form separately manifested itself, and into it entered the moon demigod with partial mental activity. See, moon and mental mind. That the living entity can conduct his mental speculations. Atmanam chasya nirpinam abhimano vishatpadam karmanam shena yena so kartavyam pratipadyate. Thereafter, the materialistic ego of the gigantic form separately manifested itself, and into it entered Rudra, the control of false ego, with his own partial activities, by which the living entity transacts his objective actions. Transacts his objective actions. Without false ego, we cannot do much. So it's like connection between us and the rest of material body, subtle and gross. The false ego of materialistic identity is controlled by the demigod Rudra, an incarnation of Lord Shiva. Rudra is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord who controls the mode of ignorance within material nature. The activities of the false ego are based on the objective of the body and mind. Most persons conducted by the false ego are controlled by Lord Shiva. When one reaches a finer version of ignorance, he falsely thinks of himself as a Supreme Lord. That egoistic conviction of the conditioned soul is the last snare of the illusory energy, which controls the entire material world. I think I'll read the next two verses and finished. Satyavam chasya vinirpina mahantishnyam upavishat chitainam shena yena so vigyanam pratipadyate. Thereafter, when his consciousness separately manifests itself, the total energy, mahatattva, entered with his conscious part. Thus the living entity is able to conceive specific knowledge. Shishno syadyayu Shishosyadhyayurdhara patpyam kam lapher udapadyata gunanam virtayo yeshu pratiyante suradaya. Thereafter, from the head of the gigantic form, the heavenly planets were manifested, and from his legs, the earthly planets, and from his abdomen, the sky separately manifested themselves. Within them, the demigods and others also were manifested in terms of the modes of material nature. So tomorrow it will be 28. I stopped on 27 today. 28 is tomorrow, just for you to know. So, yes, I mean, if we consciously read these things and try to realize, then we can realize actually a lot of things. First of all, we are not in charge and so on and so forth. But this is not the point. The point is that dismantling our false identity, I'm this body, and placing all our activities sending them in the wrong direction. Objective goals. It means that whatever we desire falsely. So and then we can become very, very sincere, very fixed devotees, chanting Hare Krishna very sincerely. And especially cherishing and being so grateful that we have the opportunity of having Srila Prabhupada in our lives. And we can finally get out of this, repeated cycle of repeated birth and death and become real selves again, just real devotees again. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening. Any questions, any comments? Yeah?
Prabhuji, thank you for this presentation.
Thank you.
You were speaking about the connection with the body, with something higher, and then we are reading about the demigods are controlling different things in our bodies and this and that. So I like technical questions. As you doctor, you see the symptom, and you know what to do to help the person.
Yeah.
The symptoms. Yeah. But what about this controlling? Because I think something's wrong with the body, this controlling deity is withdrawing any power or something, yeah? And then how the pharmacy can interact with this power with the devas who are controlling the things in our body, how we will connect with that.
I think that's why Ayurvedic understanding includes the higher powers too. They don't just give herbs. Medical science has no idea. So, but for us, it could be just, yes, I mean, we don't need to address specific deities when we have certain problems. Maybe in the future when, in ISKCON there will be real Vedic Brahmanas as well, with Vedic knowledge. But right now we don't know so much. So probably you can do some things extra, but I think it's just enough to be... Well, Brahmanas know the energy work as well. I mean, real Brahmanas, they can do so much energy work. And it's whatever you can, Reiki and healing or some energy work or yoga, not just physical, but also the energy. And then the prayers. I mean, if you pray to, when we do this Surya prayers to the in Gayatri prayers, for example, they include the whole material universe as well. The first line, isn't it? So I don't know. It's very complex. I'm sure there is a lot of information. How to approach, how to do certain things. But it's just lost, isn't it? It's almost lost, at least. So we don't know much. So I know it should be also included, some subtle...
we are dealing with energies, and as far as now, if you want to help for any person by Reiki or Yagya or whatever, then we take in part of that karma of that person.
I'm not so sure because it's the same. It is the same as you give the medicine, then you take the karma of the person. I don't think so. Well, Gopalanath Prabhu would always tell us because I lived together with him a few years in BBT centers in Lithuania and in Russia and. So he would always say, well, in Ayurveda, he said, it's your karma to be sick, and it's your karma to pay to the physician to get, treatment. It's your karma to get the side effects of it. So, yeah. But I don't think it's like that we should not treat or we should not give energy. My understanding is that, for example, I love healing thing. It's very close to me, but I will never use it alone. I will use it together with herbs, with drugs, with operation, whatever. I mean, that's why the knowledge means that you know all different parts of it. So you combine things. Sometimes one thing is enough. That's why, alternative medicine, sometimes they always say, oh, we have the cure or something. Yeah, they conducted trials. Nothing works really, because things should be combined. For example, mistletoe injection. Rudolf Steiner said, this is the cure of cancer. Okay, we have not seen that. Sorry. I have used it quite a few years. Not really impressive, I would say, because probably you have to combine it with other things. Mistletoe. Yeah, mistletoe, yeah. The extract of it. This saprophyte thing, which is, grows on peachy and on apples and apple trees and different trees, yeah. So you see, I think material science, material medicine really has a huge gap. There is no spirituality at all. There is no healing at all. I mean, before the hospitals, you could go out in the garden. They did not have much medicine, they could not operate lots of things, but at least they had the garden. You could go out and actually get fresh air. Now it's like parking place all over around the hospital. It's terrible. It's just, rooms like that, just concrete and nothing else. So, needs some rethinking. Yes.
Like the air is circulating in the body.
Yeah.
There's nothing that resembles, in medical science, that you have any kind of what it can refer to.
No, not really. But I mean, the closest I can come is like there are, for example, muscles which contract things, which open things, which move it away, bring it closer, and things like that. But this is not the same thing.
Muscles only contract.
Yeah. But I mean, well, of course, they can only do two things: contract or extend, isn't it, or relax. But I mean, the movements. I mean, this is not. This muscle, by contracting itself, moves the hand up here. Of course, I mean, they cannot do much, but yes. Maybe more like Chinese medicine and things like that, where, all these elements, how they... No, I'm thinking about it too, but I cannot come closer. Because this is a very general thing, like this air moving things out. This is not air doing. No, air is not doing. It's just subtle energy, subtle whatever impulses. Maybe it's called it's a descending impulses from the brain, but it's not the same. You can have this thing coming down to this one, and goes to this muscle. And it doesn't do. It's not extracting, evacuating anything from the body. It's just so complex. But material science has a lot of great things, of course. That's for sure. But they need to be more open to other things. Yeah.
Is it not possible for you as a doctor, when someone holds to die?
Yes.
Tell them that I'll tell you as a medical doctor, I actually believe there's life after death.
That's what I say to them. Yes. But I don't go into Hare Krishna. So yes.
You can mention God.
That's what I do. Not often, because often when I go to the patient, and I see patients not every time. It's not continuity at all. No. Who are you? I have never seen you before. I mean, when you go out and call a patient. So every time I see a new doctor, yes, every time I see a new patient as well, unfortunately. So I don't really have a connect. Yes, in Roskilde, where I am now, I have more solid connections with people, and I know them, and so it's more or less, small place, and there is a possibility to have some personal connection with people. And I do that. And sometimes when they are so close to that, they are not so capable of understanding so many things. For many years, it was in 1985 or 86, or I don't know, when I first became devotee. I was 22, 23, and I was working in intensive care. I really didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be with devotees, eat prasadam. That's all I wanted. So just such a drag. And when I came one Sunday in Georgia, Tbilisi, to the ward, there was like a huge room like this and full with patients like lying down like that, and somebody couldn't, most of them were unconscious. And there was one guy who was struggling with, he had really hard time to breathe. And suddenly the nurse left the room. So I was alone and all the unconscious patients. So I came to him, and he was Muslim. He was from Azerbaijan. In Georgia, there are some Azeris living as well. So, and his name was Muhammad Muhammad. So I came to him, and he was like this. And I said, "Hey, Muhammad." He opens his eyes, and then I tell him, what shall I tell him? I said, "Remember Allah." I tell him, because he couldn't understand. You know what he says? He opens his eyes. He nods me like this. Yes, thank you. And then suddenly the nurse comes in, and I just turn around as if nothing happened. Poor Mehmet, she said, just immediately. I looked at him. He just passed away. He was so peaceful. He was just like this. He was like this. He was happy. I couldn't tell him, remember Krishna. He has no idea who's Krishna. But I would give them everyone, like Tulsis and Maha water and things like sprinkle and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's what I could do. But they were unconscious. It was kind of easy. But here I try. But I have one wonderful story. Sorry. I have hallucinations. So one not so long time ago, maybe a couple of years, before COVID, I think, there was so my relative asked me from Georgia if I could give a consultation to a girl. They worked together. He was like 33 years old, breast cancer, really everywhere, and it was really, really bad. And I talked to her on the phone, and that was not so much I could do for her, but she had some questions and answers. I said, at least you should stop this thing, because this treatment, whatever, it costed a lot, and it would just destroy her. I said, there is no use. She said, yes, I think so, but my father and mother, they just pushed me to accept this treatment, but I think it doesn't work. But she said, the only thing I want really, go to India, to Ayurvedic center. Well, I said, it was too late too. And she could probably not be able to travel to India. She was so bad. Anyway, I said, well, do you want me to send you Bhagavad-gītā ebook in Georgian? Oh, yes, she said. And I sent her. And then a couple of days after, she died. And then my relative, they were sitting in the same office. She visited her, and then she called me. What did you do with her? I mean, I had never seen anybody so transformed as her. She was just totally transcendental. She just read Bhagavad-gītā. She said, well, don't worry about it. I don't die. I don't know what she said, but she was so happy. And she died, she just passed away peaceful. She didn't die. She really transformed somewhere else. She read Bhagavad-gītā. She said, why didn't I have it before, this book before? Please. See how nice it is. Sometimes we are so happy as people and fortunate us and them that we can help them or they can accept it. And I had one good friend, Danish friend, since I came to Denmark. He was my patient type of, but we became very good friends. He was from Fyn. And I really loved him. He was such a nice guy. And I bought Bhagavad-gītā, Danish Bhagavad, gave it to him. And then he would always come and visit me from Fyn. And, like half a year or something, I haven't heard from him. Then I called him, and his wife took the phone. I said, Mikhail died. I said, oh my God, what? But he was very humble. So he didn't want to disturb me or something. I said, oh my God, I would come to visit him and things like that. But then she said, but he was reading your Bhagavad-gītā and, until the last moment. Yes. He was such a nice guy. He's somewhere, maybe he's Bhakta, somebody now. Hare Krishna. Yes. I'm so happy that he really got it. Got the. Oh, it was 2003, 4 thing or something like that, or maybe 6, 7. I don't know, something like that. In zeros, 2000s. Yes. There was new Bhagavad-gītā actually just came out. I printed at least. Well, at least I bought one here. Yes, in Danish. Yeah. So then I gave Bhagavad-gītā to my good friend. He's in Gamle Ole. He's like 95 or something. Extremely nice person. He could not read it. He could not understand it. So I got it back. Yeah. What to do? But such a nice person. Oh my God. Yeah. We don't know what's going on. Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. It's a nice day for me to be here.